Will I ever make it on the saxophone? This is another very interesting question which I get all the time with people, particularly adults who are returning to playing the horn after a period of time. Now, I have to address this question, and it's extremely important because if you don't address this clearly in your mind, you're going to actually have a lot of problems, not just coming back to playing the saxophone, but even getting down to practice. Now, one of the things which is strange is people saying, will I ever get it? Right? Will I ever make it on the saxophone? Again, I'm looking at my notes to sort of think about this. Will I ever make it? And what does making it actually mean? I mean, making it to some people may be as simple as getting a simple improvisation on something like, no, that's someone's version of making it. And yes, I can do it now. It wasn't easy when I started, but that could be a certain person's version of making it. Someone could want to go the whole hog, man, playing with bands, playing with pros, touring the world. Either way, this is a very nebulous, dangerous question. The first thing you need to understand is this: making it comes in stages. And nearly every single professional saxophonist that I know, including Kenny G, surprisingly enough, has parts of their career they've never made it in. And this sounds ridiculous, but it's just the truth. For instance, as a pro player, you tend to take for granted the things you do well, and there's always that other level up there. So let me just give you a few ideas, particularly for you doctors and medical professionals coming back to playing the saxophone, or even starting it for the first time. Number one, making it needs to not have one dream, but 1,000 little pieces. Now, the reason why that's so important is motivation, particularly as an adult, is a problem. Actually, there's no truth in the fact that adults learn slower than children. Actually, adults can learn much faster than children for the simple reason adults are able to focus. If you're a doctor, a medical professional, you're obviously focused in your training. Otherwise, you would not be the professional you are today. So you have to ask this question: what are my motivations? And note the word motivations, not motivation, motivations. Now, a big mistake is that a lot of the ideas which come to us about motivating adults in playing music are extremely recent innovation. The majority of adults were not taught to play music. This is the truth. In fact, the so called wisdom which has been given previously was, oh, well, children learn quicker, they're younger, their minds are more malleable. You'll never make it. In other words, you'll never learn to play a musical instrument proficiently if you're an adult. So you might as well not start. And gradually through the 80s, 90s, and noughties, and even the 10s, we're now in the 20s now, by the way, we started to get more and more information about learning. We started to understand learning much better. So we now know that actually adults can learn and pick up a whole new skill, such as playing the piano or playing the saxophone at a proficient high level when they are adults. And it's actually easier than children because of this thing called focus. In other words, adults can focus a lot longer. In order to get children to learn, a lot of work has to be done beforehand to make it a game, to make it fun. So children will stick to it long enough to learn through. We've even learned such controversial things such as talent actually doesn't exist. In other words, all these ideas which you have of saying that you are talented or not talented, it doesn't really exist. So knowing that, I would suggest, and I put a worksheet in here, that you put down 10 motivations. 10 things which you feel about making it. Sure, start with the big one. I mean, the big one could be playing at Carnegie Hall, or playing with Kenny G, or playing with your favorite pop artist, or simply being able to sit down and play bebop along with Charlie Parker recordings. Now, that's a big one, right? That's a huge one, in fact, if you want to play bebop at the same speed as Charlie Parker recordings and sound articulate in the rest. That is a goal which could take between years and decades. Then from that, start to break it down, right? And go 10 steps below. What is the goal below that? What's the goal below that? What's the goal below that? Now, here's the key to doing this exercise. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be sensational. What you have to do is you must put 10 other motivations. Why? It forces you to dig deep. And that digging deep makes all the difference when it comes to you thinking of quitting the saxophone later on. And that's what's really, really crucial here. In other words, you've dug deep enough in order for you to continue to have that motivation. Because here's the point as an adult. When do you stop being an adult? You don't. This is the truth. I mean, I always tell people this. I said, you should be happy taking up the instrument as an adult for one important reason. You've got decades. When I'm a kid, I don't have decades. In fact, the stupid thing about music is so much is front end loaded to those first, I would say, 1.5 to 1 and 8 over 10, 4/5 decades of life. In other words, if you ain't made certain crucial things happen musically or artistically before the age of 18, you ain't gonna make it. Yet there are many people who made it past the age of 18. Now, this is an important point to be made because we do so much to beat up on ourselves with this question, how will I make it or will I ever make it? That we don't realize how much time we have ahead of us. The fact is, as adults, we spend a lot of time as adults. The average person spends 40 to 45 years as an adult. You might as well use that time constructively. It means no matter what method you take, even the slowest, most brain dead, archaic method of learning music, if you stick at it for 20 years, you will get there. I assure you, you will get there. The only question really and truly right now is, what does there look like to you? What does making it look like to you? So make sure you put that there and make sure you post it in my group. I've got my group called the One Song Challenge. Make sure you go over, join the Facebook group. It's free. Post your comments in there and see how we can get some nuancing on that. And until I see you again, make sure to play your sax now.